What's up, everybody? This is J-Rod Fishing Podcast, where we talk about crappie and bass hybrids and white bass. It's all coming up now. Well, thanks for tuning in again today. It has gotten cold. So from last week, let's go back 2 weeks, the topwater bite at Lake of the Ozarks was coming to a frazzling end. Not saying that you can go back out there now and probably catch one. On a Monday, there was still shad on the banks in places, so I think you could still get bit on a topwater. But we've had frigid, below freezing temperatures every week, every night this week, so I believe that the topwater bite is gone. We have transitioned into wintertime, and the water temps this week are anywhere from 49 to 52 degrees. So I didn't see anything really above 52 in the glaze. On Monday, I went from the glaze all the way up to the 50-mile marker, really looking for that big wad of fish, just in case I wanted to enter the World Fishing Tour. And I did not find that. I think I went past them. I think the best bite is still around the Four Corners. I think if you have a good wad of fish in the right water clarity, being clear to stained, being at least 4 to 5 feet of visibility, if not more, and you have a water temp above 50 degrees, I think that's where you need to stay. Throw in the shad with that, throw in a dock or two, throw in some big rock, and that's what you want to key on. They've really transitioned to jump on the jerkbait, the A-rig, and if you're a really good scoper, for me it's just like you're crappie fishing for bass with maybe a little bit bigger crappie jig. It's really all it is. You can do the loop knot, you can get the VMC heads, you can get the freeloader, you can get the mooch minnow if you don't know what that is. Those are Rapala Crush City baits that became famous from Jacob Wheeler and Dustin Connell. Winning all that money on it. I know there's a lot of other guys out there using it also that's not even sponsored by Rapala. You don't have to have the mooch minnow. They'll still eat a Kitech. They'll eat a Super Fluke Junior. And if you're really into that kind of stuff, you can look up a lot of the Japanese baits. There's Damiki itself, I believe the Armor Shad, and some of the others are really, really good Damiki rig baits. So you have a lot of choices there on live scope type baits. If you can find them in that 15-foot range or less, then a jerkbait's working really good. Sometimes these fish are roaming in the middle of the pockets, and they're kind of all over, anywhere you find shad. So if you find those fish in the middle of the pockets, they can be anywhere from 30 feet deep all the way up to the surface almost. So you just really got to scope around and look, find the bass, because there's a lot of trash fish, there's a lot of crappie, there's a lot of white bass, there's a lot of different things that are getting in your way if you are really focusing on largemouth. Now, when you get out of the glaze and start to go up the river like I did, then your water clarity really goes away. What I mean is you tend to lose that visibility, especially on the main lake. Now, it's still clear enough to do well, and if you like to fish shallow, I tried a lot of crankbaits and a lot of jerkbaits shallow and didn't do very well. I really had to be in a protected pocket and be around the shad, and it seems like the more I got out of the wind was better than being in the wind. But that being said, the wind on Monday was blowing so hard that it was almost impossible. I tried to A-rig in the wind, and it just wasn't working. I did a lot better if I got out of the wind. So if you're out of the wind and you're in the back of a creek, the water clarity really turns a lot better for what we're trying to do, catch these wintertime fish. So get off the main lake and then get back in somewhere, whether it's a creek or a big cove. If you go into racetrack, if you go in behind Tantera, if you go in, Redheads, any of those coves have really good clarity to them. And then when you get back towards the glaze actually has really good clarity once you get around PP2. From PP2 to Army Wreck seems to be kind of that zone, that the water clarity that you need to key on. Now, that's not saying that you can't go into some dirty water and catch fish right now. The temperature's right around 50 and it's falling, so we've been having these cold nights. So once you get into the 40s, that water clarity is going to be more and more crucial. And if you can still find that 50 to 52, I'm sure in the Niangua there's still a lot of 50-degree water, and you want to fish shallow with a crankbait, by all means, that would be a good pattern. I just have not been able to capitalize on that. I know it's out there, but I didn't experiment with it enough. I'd rather catch them that way. I like to wiggle wart. I like to use a rock crawler. I like a DT6. And then whenever those aren't working, I really like the old flat sides. You got the old WC Zooms, the Mutt, the Peanut. You've got all kinds of different options now. Cliff Pace makes a really good balsa bait, wooden baits that are kind of based off of those old wooden crankbaits that are discontinued. You can't find them anymore unless you want to get on eBay and pay $100 for a crankbait, which if you're a collector, great, but for fishing, that's not real conducive to financially stacking your tackle box up with good baits. The next thing you know, you've got $1,000 worth of crankbaits. But when we start talking about swim baits, which was working, I think they'll still work. Those are expensive too. Those are, I would say, you would really, really have to be on something special to get on them right now. I don't have anything special to do that with. I'd rather stick with the A-rig if you want consistency and have that jerk bait as a good backup. Now, which jerk baits? The shallow jerk baits like the Vision 110, the old Rogues, the Super Rogue was working really good if you want to fish shallow, and if you want to get deep and scope with those jerk baits, the 110 plus 1, the 110 plus 2 is probably one of your better choices. I really want to experiment with some different Berkeley jerk baits this winter, kind of dial in some different ones. I know Sixth Sense has some great jerk baits out there that I really don't have a lot of experience with, that I want to really get dialed in. But the 110, the Mega Bass has always been king, it seems like, and that's kind of what I stick with. But there's other options out there. There's other less expensive options. There's some at Fitz Fishing that are they're cheaper. I don't even know the brand of them. They're not the RCs. They're just kind of an off-brand that worked real well for me last year, and I think those were $7.99. So if you don't want to spend $20-$30 on a jerkbait, which is totally understandable, especially fishing around brush, then there's other options out there that work just fine. I think the main key is getting the bait to the fish if they don't want to commit to the bait and go a long ways. So experiment with other brands. Even an old deep build Rogue is a great bait. Right now, if you run into a lot of hybrids, which you will on these points and big rocky points, Some in the back of the pockets of these big long pockets like Pin Oak and Watson in the Glaze. You can run up there, Party Cove, get out of the wind, get back there, and find hybrids and white bass mixed in with the bass. And there's catfish, there's everything going on. That'll continue until it gets too cold and the shad really make a move back to wherever they came from. It seems like it's almost like the shad are just so everywhere that it's hard to find a shad migration, because you can find them as soon as you put your trolling motor down. You're going to start to see shad. Now, we've had enough wind to where it seems like a lot of shad have gotten out of it or got pushed into these deep, long coves. And so you might find them in the middle of the cove all the way to the back, and the fish are just around them underneath the bait balls, and you can see them on your graph. Now, do you have to have live scope to find that? No. If you got 2D, you can idle cove, look at your 2D, find where they're at. Are they up in the water column? Or are they kind of pushed down? And then go from there, and then use whatever you got, but some sort of graph is probably pretty important right now. Go out there, idle around, look where the birds are at, look where the activity is, and then go from there. You can see it with your eyes. You don't have to have a big live scope. Does the live scope help? Yes. Does the bigger live scopes help? Yes. But you don't have to have that to go out and have fun. Now, crappie fishing has been a little bit different. I'm not doing as well fishing off the docks, just dropping down, in those big condo docks, even up in the river where I normally catch them in shallow brush. I'm not doing as well doing that. I need some deeper brush, so that 20-foot range seems to be about perfect, anywhere from 15 to 20 foot deep. And if shad are nearby, great. You don't have to have a ton of shad. It seems like if they're in a comfortable area, they are probably going to be there from now until who knows when. Now, there is some crappie being caught on the jerkbait, so the ones that are suspended up in the water column that you can see, you can jerkbait them now. That will go on, I hope, until next spring. Wherever the sun's at. We haven't had a lot of sunlight coming out, but if they can get to start sunning somewhere and get up in the water column, that's where they're going to be. And then they're going to move around with the shad. And then if you've got some good brush piles that are holding fish, check those. I just have not been doing as well on my solid brush piles as much as I am maybe under a condo dock, or actually out in the open water already. So I think it's more how comfortable they are and how much shad are around more than a good brush pile. Not saying you can't go limit out on a brush pile. I'm just saying I have not done as well just focusing on dock brush. But I've also not really spent a lot of time crappie fishing. I've been more of bass fishing. So talk to these other guys, get on YouTube, go look around. There is some crappie fishing or crappie that are being caught on docks. I just don't have the right ones right now. So on the crappie, I think I'm probably using some of the wrong baits too. I've been using monkey milk. I've been using my tube jigs with the crappie nibble. I really need to go out there and experiment with some hand-tied jigs, some marabou, some really good thumper jigs, and use some more hair. Hair works good all year long, but I think right now hair shines through the winter. So some blue ice hair jigs, some white with some blue, maybe some white with some purple, and I'm going to get out there and try that and see if that makes any difference. So looking forward to that this weekend. We're going to have Air temps in the 50s. I'll be interested to see what the water temps are going to be. I think if you can settle down somewhere that's comfortable for you, it's going to be comfortable for the fish, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start out in the glaze. There is several tournaments going on this weekend, so I'll probably, if I don't get a wild hair and get in one of these tournaments, I'm going to focus on crappie more, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's what's going on at Lake of the Ozarks. There's a lot of good fishing reports out there right now, so get on YouTube and you'll find plenty of good information out there. Get on bassandbob.com and check out the tournament results. There are some big bass being caught well into the 7-pound range, and so right now, as cold as it is one of the best times to be out there. So be safe, wear your life jacket, be really, really careful in this cold weather. Just because you can swim good doesn't mean that your body won't cramp up as soon as you fall in the water, and then you're kind of like paralyzed. So it's dangerous. I have to remind myself of that all the time, and I need to be way more careful. So be safe and catch a bunch of fish. See you later.